I married into a wealthy family. At our engagement dinner, his sister slipped me a note that said, "Check the basement." When I met Daniel, I had no idea who his family really was. He was charming, calm, understated. The kind of man who wears expensive watches but never talks about money. It wasn't until I was invited to meet his family in New York City that I understood. They weren't just rich. They were untouchable. His father sat on the board of multiple corporations. Their name was on buildings, hospitals, scholarships, one wing of a museum in Boston. Wani. Quiet power. At dinner, everything looked perfect. Crystal glasses, private chef. Art that probably cost more than my student loans. But something felt off. No one laughed naturally. Conversations felt rehearsed. And Daniel's older sister, Victoria, barely spoke. Halfway through dessert, she walked behind me like she was adjusting my chair. That's when she slipped something into my hand. A folded napkin. I didn't open it until I was in the guest bathroom. 3 words written in blue ink. Check the basement, the house. Her state wasn't easy. It was in Greenwich. Massive gates, private security, landscaped perfection. And technically, there was no basement. The real estate listing called it a climate-controlled archive level. Daniel once joked it was where his father kept family history. At the time, I thought that meant photo albums. That night, curiosity won. Around 1:30 a.m., I left the guest room. The hallway cameras blinked red. I know this because I saw the reflection on the polished floor. At the end of the west corridor was a keypad door. Not decorative. Not wine cellar fancy. Industrial. I tried 0000, nothing. Then I tried Daniel's birthday. Nothing. Then, randomly, I tried the year his mother died. The door unlocked. It wasn't a basement. It was a records room. Wall-to-wall filing cabinets, locked drawers, hard drives stacked in labeled boxes. Each cabinet had names. Women's names. Dates next to them. Most of the dates were around the same period, 15 to 20 years ago. I opened one file. Inside was a non-disclosure agreement. Medical reimbursement forms. Private settlement documents. And a pregnancy test result. Positivi. The woman in the file wasn't Daniel's mother. She was a former intern at one of his father's foundations. I opened another file. Same pattern. Young women, interns, assistants, scholarship recipients. Pipe rent. Paid. Silenced. Some files were stamped. Resolved. Others were stamped. Transferred. Transferred where? The photograph. In the last drawer, there was a photo. Daniel, at maybe 8 years old, standing beside another boy. They looked almost identical. Same eyes, same smile. On the back of the photo was written, DM-2003. Daniel has no twin. I've known him for 3 years. He never mentioned a brother. The sister. The next morning, Victoria cornered me by the garden. She didn't look dramatic. She looked tired. You went down there. I couldn't lie. She nodded slowly. Then, she said something I still hear in my sleep. You need to decide if you want to marry into this, or survive it. I asked about the other boy in the photo. Her jaw tightened. That one didn't adapt well. Adapt to what? She didn't answer. Over the next week, I started searching old articles. Years ago, there was a quiet scandal involving the foundation. A scholarship program that was abruptly restructured. Several recipients disappeared from public records. Lawsuits. No media noise. Silence. And then I noticed something else. Every woman in those files gave birth in private clinics overseas. Mostly in places like Zurich and Cape Town. And then the payments. Large transfers labeled educational endowment. I confronted Daniel. I showed him the photo. He stared at it longer than I expected. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. You weren't supposed to see that version. Version. Not brother. not cousin. Version. I asked him what that meant. He smiled. Soft, controlled. Legacy requires preparation. I asked if he had siblings. He said, not anymore. 3 days later, Victoria was gone. Official story. She checked into a wellness retreat in Aspen. Her phone has been off since. The engagement party is next month. Invitations already sent. My parents are thrilled. Daniel acts like nothing happened. But last night, as he was asleep, his phone lit up. A message preview. From an unknown number. It's sorry. Subject M showed instability again. Subject. Not name. Subject. And below it. Replacement, discussion pending. So now, I have to ask myself something terrifying. Am I marrying into a powerful family? Or am I stepping into a system where people are created, replaced, and erased? And if Victoria tried to warn me, what does that make me?